All right, guys, let's talk about one of the most important settings that you have in Counter-Strike 2, and that is your crosshair. I know that it's something that people can obsess with for hours, days, months, even years. I know I definitely fall into that boat. It took me years to find a crosshair that was comfortable for me, and I want to try and pass on a bit of what I've learned through trial, through error, through research, so that hopefully by the end of this video, you know what makes a good crosshair and also some key things to avoid as well. Okay, so first off, why is this actually such a big deal? Your crosshair is with you 100% of the time. It is the one thing that is truly consistent from the moment that you load into the server to the moment that you leave, whether you get the win or whether you lose. It's with you for every single gunfight. It's with you for every single jump, every single piece of utility that you throw, every angle that you hold, every shot that you take, everything. I could sit here and list every single action that you could possibly do in a game of Counter-Strike, and your crosshair is involved in it. People think that this is one of the be-all end-alls in how well they're playing and how well they're aiming, and it is super, super important that you get this right and that you find something that you're comfortable with and that you're consistent with. But like all other settings, it's super important, but it's not going to make you a god overnight, right? There is variations in what crosshairs can work. We see a lot of pro players using very, very different things, but what we will see, and we will go into it a little bit later on in the video, there are consistencies with what the top players are using and how they set their crosshairs up. Okay, the number one most important thing for a crosshair is its visibility. That is the entire point of having a crosshair. If your crosshair is disappearing in smokes, if it's blending into walls on any maps, you are going to struggle. You are going to put yourself at a huge disadvantage. That's why the two most common colors for crosshairs are cyan and also the default crosshair color, which is bright green. Both of these colors do a really fantastic job of standing out on all maps, on all common areas. Really, really solid choices, either of these colors. You can't go wrong. And that leads us into the second most important thing, and that is your crosshair size and thickness. Most new players, if they have no previous bias or preference, are going to be asking themselves, do I want a large crosshair or do I want a small crosshair? And both of them have their advantages. And this isn't a perfect science, none of this stuff ever is, but at a really basic level, a small crosshair will give you an advantage in long range fights, and a larger crosshair is going to be better for you in close range fights. So for example, let's say you're in pit on Dust 2 with a large crosshair. You're trying to fight someone on A from pit. The distance that fight is going to take place at is meaning that your crosshair is going to cover their entire frame, their entire model, but it's also going to stretch out past their hitbox. This is going to make it look like you're hitting them dead on target, but in reality, you're not. Okay, now in this exact same scenario, we've got a smaller crosshair, still the same distance, but now even with the long range, we can be a lot more confident where our shots are going to be, and it makes these fights a lot more reliable. I just want to quickly touch on static versus dynamic crosshairs as well. A lot of newer players, they'll gravitate towards a dynamic crosshair, and it makes sense. It's showing you when you're not accurate. You can have follow recoil on. It shows you when you can start shooting again without being punished for your movement. But once you start to learn how to counter strafe, and once you get a little bit more familiar and comfortable with the game, the bouncy crosshair is really, really distracting, and it's something that I'd really recommend most players stay away from. The elephant in the room is always, what are the pros using? What are the best players in the world competing for millions and millions of dollars? What are they using every single day? And I'll tell you what they're doing. They're picking something that they're comfortable with, and then they're sticking with it. Donk, he uses a very small crosshair. Nico, he has a bit of a gap in his. Zywoo, his is larger than most, and there are some players that are even using just plain static dots as well. They're different, but they stick with their choice. It ingrains into their muscle memory over hours and hours, years and years, and games and games. You should be aiming to get to the point where you don't even notice your crosshair. It's always there, it's always working with you, but it's in your subconscious. You should never be in a position where you're looking at your screen, being distracted because you've got a shiny new crosshair every week, every 2 weeks, every month. You're setting your muscle memory back to zero. Okay, so if you're still sitting here stressing about this, here's what I recommend. Jump into Crash's crosshair generator on the Steam Workshop. I'm going to have it linked in the description below. It's extremely easy to use. It's packed full of features, heaps of presets. It makes customizing your crosshairs insanely easy, and then you just shoot the wall and it saves it for you. You don't have to worry about mucking around with your config or anything like that. Super beginner friendly. Get in there, use it, play around, find something that makes you comfortable, something that makes you confident. Your crosshair should be helping you focus on the important stuff like your crosshair placement, your aim, how well you're holding your angles, how well you're peeking, your movement, your utility usage, all of that stuff. That's where your actual skill is going to come from. So does your crosshair really matter that much in Counter-Strike? Yes, it is incredibly important, but only to the point where you can see it clearly. It makes you feel comfortable, consistent, and confident. Beyond that, it's not your crosshair that's holding you back inside of this game. It's a poor practice routine, it's poor mental, it's poor simple mechanics. No crosshair settings are going to change. The only way that you can improve on that stuff is to have a really solid, strong, structured practice routine. There are pros and cons to majority of the settings in this game. If there was a strict formula for what works the best, everyone would be using that, but the reality is they don't. People use many different things, whether it's because it makes them feel more comfortable, they think that it makes them play better in the form of a placebo, whatever it happens to be. There is no textbook answer for what is the best when it comes to your settings inside of this game. But what is textbook is how well can you improve? How much self-accountability do you have to why you're not improving? And what are you prepared to actually do? What are the steps that you're prepared to actually take? And how consistent are you going to be in making sure that you are actively getting better when you play this game? So I'm curious, what crosshairs are you guys running at the moment? Feel free to drop the codes down in the description and I will check them all out and I'll comment or reply what I think of each one of them. If you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe, comment, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you later. Bye.